Good evening, everybody, and welcome in to another episode of the Sports Show here live on WEKY, WKXO, WIRV, and we are also live where you can watch us on WBONTV.com. Jamie Boggs, Michael Watkins, we're glad to have you along. And Jamie, it's been another week, and seems like the coronavirus is getting worse again. You know, we talked last week. We had the Clemson players testing positive that had reported. LSU had a big issue as well. And now you're seeing like some states are having a record number of positive cases each day. Florida, California, Texas. I mean, it's not going away anytime soon. You know, people were getting back out and talking about, you know, getting back to work and going out to eat again and going on vacation. And now we see what the issue with that is because the virus is spiking up. And we'll get into the local impact of that here very soon, but it just seems like right now it's a tough time because the coronavirus is still here.
Yeah, and I mean, even if you think back to what kind of canceled everything, it was Rudy Gobert testing positive in the NBA. The NBA seems certain to restart now. They're starting to see some guys who are coming back testing positive, and there may be something good from that. Maybe they're maybe just the screening process, and they're able to eliminate it from whatever bubble they're going to live in, but with the numbers that are coming in testing positive, it's got to be a concern for those that are down there.
Yeah, I think 5% of the players that are coming back had tested positive. And, you know, we're seeing guys like, I think Buddy Hield was a sort of, you know, relatively big name that tested positive. But we haven't seen like LeBron or James Harden or Kawhi Leonard. None of those guys have tested positive yet. So, you know, I'm wondering if those guys actually do test positive, will they even announce it? You know, will they even come out and say, hey, these guys have it? Because they might want to keep it hush-hush so those guys can keep playing. Because let's say you get into the NBA Finals and LeBron James tests positive for the coronavirus. I mean, he can't play.
Yeah.
So what do you do? So, I mean, again, it's just this is so weird right now. And, you know, you're going to be in the bubble and all this stuff. But the NBA has had, I think, you know, 5% of the guys that are coming back. And that's not a big total. I mean, that's not a huge number. And, again, it wasn't any really big names, but you know, let's say that one of these guys that are a legit superstar catch the virus and can't play in a big game, then what do you do?
Yeah, that's going to be. Look, I've gone from we're not going to have sports till 2021 to yay, sports are coming back. I'm starting to lean back the other way. I'm worried with the way things are trending, especially like the NBA's going to Orlando. Florida had 5,000 new cases in one day over the weekend. I'm worrying if they're actually going to happen, both professional and local. But yeah, the impact it could have on a game with a major player being gone, in the NBA especially. I mean, other sports, most of the time you can make up for a player even if they're a big star. But in the NBA, if one of your big three goes, and you're done.
Yeah, and we've seen baseball coming back now too. You know, no fans in the stands, obviously. It's going to be very interesting to see how the travel with baseball coming back because, you know, let's say, and I'll take a 60-game schedule, so it won't be as bad as normal. And I think 40 of those games are going to be within your own division, so there won't be a ton of travel there. But, you know, the other 20 games, I mean, if you've got, let's say the Reds going to, you know, Atlanta or something like that, I mean, that's a decent little trip. And, you know, if Atlanta doesn't allow travel or Ohio doesn't allow travel, then what do you do? So it's just a lot of stuff like that is still to be figured out. But I mean, I'm thinking that one thing the NBA is doing is they are allowing more roster spots for this reason. You know, if you've got a couple of guys that test positive, they have to go to quarantine. The rest of your team is okay. Well, now you've got 2 extra guys that can come up and play and be a part of your team and not have to just maybe miss that much action or whatever.
I think that's funny because there are definitely dudes on NBA rosters that never play.
Yeah.
Like,
they're going to have more that don't play.
Yeah, they have, 15 guys on their roster normally. Yeah. And, most teams have 8 to 9 player rotations. If people get in foul trouble, you may get to 10 or 11, but I don't know. I guess it makes sense if there's a small outbreak on a team, but I thought that was kind of silly to go from 15 to 17 when you never see those last 3 guys anyway.
Well, I thought it was interesting for the case that, like, some of these guys haven't played all year, and it gives them a chance. You know what? I can just go play in the playoffs now. Like, I could sit out the entire year and then go play in the playoffs, which I thought was pretty cool for guys like Jamal Crawford, who had 50 points in a game last year for the Phoenix Suns. Nobody picked him up. He's at the end of his career, obviously, but he still can score. So, I mean, maybe a team that needs a guy that can go get a bucket might look at him. You got some big guys. I mean, DeMarcus Cousins, former Kentucky player. That is a guy that, if when healthy, is maybe a top 5 center in the game. He's available for this. So if, a team like Boston, who hasn't really had a big man all year long, wanted to reach out to him and bring him in, that could be very interesting. So there are some storylines that could be very interesting to look at when the NBA opens back up. And, I think for like the KHSAA, looking at what the NBA is doing, I mean, obviously that's a big difference in the money that the NBA has and the money that the KHSAA has. But they could maybe take from what the NBA is doing and use that for some games this year, because we still don't know what the KHSAA is going to do. We're going to save that for another segment here on the show tonight. But keep that in mind. We're going to talk about that in a few minutes as to what the KHSAA might be doing. But for the NBA, we're looking at, I think, late July. They had the schedule come out. The very first game will be July 30th. And then on the following day, they'll have games start at like noon or 1 o'clock and go all throughout the day. And there'll be like maybe a 3-week schedule of this before they enter the playoffs.
Yeah, 6 games a day, which if you're craving sports and you love the NBA, that's heaven, because they're playing in the same place. So it's not like you have to choose which game to watch. You can watch all 6 games that day if you want to.
And if you dabble in some gambling, you got 6 or 7 games to bet on every day?
No comment to that. I would go the under in every game with the players coming back and be a little rusty. And then baseball is supposed to start the week before that, and their travel is supposed to be regional, like you mentioned, like you're playing in your division and then playing 20 games of teams that are kind of around you, but still that is travel. That's still Cincinnati going to Milwaukee, going to Chicago. Anything can happen once you get in that environment.
Yeah, and I think the scariest thing is still the unknown. Like, we don't know anything. We really don't. I mean, we don't know what is going on. We don't know, how to stop this virus. We don't know how to contain it. I mean, it's just the unknown is the absolute scariest part right now. And I think once we, have a vaccine, then everybody will be, a lot more less worried, or sports, I guess, can kind of really get back and resume. But as of right now, I mean, people don't care. I mean, that's the scariest. And I've seen Twitter posts going around that says, if you want this, and it was a picture of EKU's McBrayer Arena with fans packed in there and a game going on. It said, if you want this, wear this. And it had a picture of a mask. And, I mean, and that's the truth right now. If you want to see college basketball and then the NBA were the first 2 things to shut down. Now we're getting close to maybe the most popular sport in America. That's the NFL and college football coming back around. And they still don't know yet. I mean, we're a month away from, like, high school football really getting vamped up and us having, our schedule unveiled as to what games we're going to be at. We don't even know what games are going to take place right now. So with the coronavirus having this big impact and it's still being a part of the world right now, there's no way to kind of look at it and be like, okay, we're going to be good by this date. We thought maybe by August that we would say, okay, we'll have a better grasp on it. It's getting worse.
It is, because every day it's something new. It's everybody wear a mask. Nobody wear a mask. Wear this kind of mask and not that kind of mask. And I don't know what to believe. So I'm just going to keep wearing the mask that I have and hope. I guess hope is a big part of what's happening now. I hope we can have sports. I hope we can do it safely. I don't think we should do it if it can't be done safely, but hopefully people are smarter than me, can figure out how to make that happen.
So a big thing that came out last week, Jimmy, was that the University of Kentucky did not test the athletes that came back on campus, and they got a lot of bad feedback because of that. What are you hearing? I know you cover UK pretty well, and you've got some guys that are more inside sources. What are you hearing about the reason for that, and kind of what is going to be the backlash coming from that?
Yeah, that absolutely shocked me. I thought I had read as part of their plan was bring all the returning players back, test them, isolate them, and then let them get in, and then bring the new players in waves. I was shocked to hear that didn't happen. I think they ultimately did test everybody, and they had like 6 cases, which is lower than some other schools for sure. But that's not a good look. I don't know that it's going to be any backlash, or that's going to cause people to, like, you're not going to negatively recruit. Hey, don't go to Kentucky. They're not going to test you for a month. I don't know that any of that's going to happen. I don't think the NCAA is going to slap them, but it was very surprising for me, and it's not a good look for the University of Kentucky. Hopefully the other sports, like the basketball team moved in this weekend, hopefully they learn from the football team's mistakes and definitely test people as they come in the door.
Well, and with basketball, too, it's a lot easier to kind of keep 15 guys isolated than it is 70, So yeah. It'll be a lot easier for them to kind of contain the basketball players. One thing that I have seen is that Starr posted on Twitter that he was in Lexington. So he's there, and I'm really excited about this Kentucky team this year, and because we're excited because we don't know anything about it. They got guys from all over. They've kind of just put this team together with pieces from different places. They got 3 or 4 transfers that are coming in, which is unlike Kentucky. Normally we have these freshmen. So it's going to be very interesting to see what Cal and this coaching staff does with this kind of team of piecing it all together. And I tell you what, I've seen some rec league games or some pickup games with some of EKU's players. And man, oh man, this EKU team is going to be a lot of fun to watch this year as well. You got Cooper Robb transferring down, who played at Scott County, to be on the team with Michael Moreno, who's from Scott County, who had a big year last year. Jamaru Brown put his name in the hat for the NBA draft. Now he's coming back. And Kurt Lewis, a guy that wasn't able to play last year, I've seen some video of him just playing some pickup ball with some guys. Dude is a freak. I mean, he is going to be one of the best players in the OVC when he gets out there. So you pair him with some of these guys that A.W. Hamilton already has on the roster, and EKU basketball could be just as fun to watch this year as some of these bigger schools, because they're going to get up and down the floor, play pressure defense, and they have got some animals on the team this year.
Yeah, last year's roster was good. They had a puncher's chance going into the OVC tournament. They were kind of on the brink, and I feel like they're vastly improved from a year ago. So that's going to be another fun brand of basketball to watch around here. So we have no idea how many people are going to be allowed in the stadium, but there will be ways to watch the games. We're just going to have to get creative so people have access.
We'll take a short commercial break. When we come back, to Leah Todd, Madison Central senior from this past year, we'll talk to her about signing to play college basketball and how it felt to win a district championship with the team that they had. With that and more coming your way next on the Sports Show, live on the stations of Wallingford Broadcasting and WBONTV.com.
I'm Michelle. And I'm Jennifer. And in the spring of 1992, Bishop Small Engine Repair was born in our mom and dad's barn in Estill County.
Then in the fall of 1992, we made the move to Madison County, where we are today. With the support of our family, customers, and community, we have continued to grow in the outdoor power industry. With a full line of products from Cupcadet, Grasshopper, Echo, and Shindawa, we can help you tackle your yard so you can enjoy it with your family. Bishop Small Engine Repair, where our focus is our customer. Stop on in, 119 North Estill Avenue in Richmond. We can't wait to see ya.
Get the money you need now. Apply for a home equity line of credit at Cumberland Valley National Bank today, with no payments for 6 months and low rates. There's never been a better time to tap into your home's equity.
Patrick O'Neill has been serving Central and Eastern Kentucky since 1995. When someone is accused of something they didn't do, or when a good person makes a mistake, they need the best representation they can find. And that's Patrick O'Neill. Whether it's criminal defense, Social Security, disability, personal injury, workers' compensation, or deeds and wills, when you need legal advice, trust the expertise of Patrick O'Neill. He will get you the money you deserve. His office is located in Jackson, but Patrick practices all over Central and Eastern Kentucky. For more information or for a free consultation, call 606-666-2990.
Who makes the best meal in Richmond? Nuevo Vallarta. Friendly service, a place that's good for kids and good for groups. Head to Nuevo Vallarta on Big Hill Avenue in Richmond. Nuevo Vallarta is known for warm hospitality, great prices, great food, and the best margaritas and fajitas in town. Doesn't a huge 32-ounce ice-cold beer sound great? Start with an appetizer, order a la carte, or choose from their huge menu of Mexican favorites for grown-ups and kids. Nuevo Vallarta on Big Hill Avenue in Richmond.
Get the money you need now. Apply for a home equity line of credit at Cumberland Valley National Bank today, with no payments for 6 months and low rates. There's never been a better time to tap into your home's equity.
We're joined by Talia Todd, a Madison Central, well, was a Madison Central senior. She has just signed to play basketball at Campbellsville University, Harrodsburg. Am I saying that right, Talia?
Yes.
So first of all, before we get into all that, let's talk about this arm issue we've got. You just had surgery. Talk about the process of that and how that is going to play out as you get ready to start your college basketball career.
Well, it definitely has set me back a little bit. I was wanting to get it done like right after the high school season was over, but then we got hit with the coronavirus, so I wasn't able to go to the doctor until 3 months later. But I wanted to have it done earlier so that I'd have time to like get myself ready and be able to play at the start of the season. But now I probably won't even be able to get cleared until around November. But I'm still excited to play.
Well, let's talk about this past basketball season. Obviously, coming into the year, you and the team, the expectations, or I guess the expectations from people around basketball in Kentucky, you didn't know much about Madison Central because got a new head coach. There's kind of an unknown with who's on the team, and it was pretty much you and Jakari as the two, I guess, remaining players from those district championship teams from years past. And you all did something that nobody thought you all would do going into the season. That's pull out a district championship. Just talk about how this year played out and how it felt coming out on top, knowing that people around had maybe not given you all the respect that you all deserved.
Well, it definitely was one of my biggest accomplishments to me, just because like you said, throughout the whole season, everybody was like, we're going to have a losing season. We're not even going to be able to get past the first round of districts, because it was the first time we had drawn Southern in like at least the past 5 years that I had been playing. And the way that we had to play a bunch of middle schoolers and people that had never had any varsity experience was also a little bit difficult. But I think the more and more that we played together, it got a lot easier, which is why we were able to come out with the district championship. But we had went through so much as a team throughout the year that had like a lot of stuff didn't even have to do with like playing basketball. But I think because we were all wanting to be like dedicated to it and wanted to win district, that's how we got there.
We'll talk about Coach Lovely. I mean, what did it mean for you all to do this with him in his first year as a head coach and seeing all the different changes that went on with the team and everything else? Just talk about what he did and how it felt doing this with him.
I love that we were able to do that with Lovely for his first year, mostly because he was my gym teacher in elementary school. Like, I've known Lovely since I was a little kid, and he's always had a good heart and actually cared about us and cared about the game too. So it was nice for us to be able to get a district championship his first year of coaching, and I think he was happy about it too. But he's always been really encouraging and almost like a father to us, so I think he also deserved that.
Well, let's talk about the university, or the Campbellsville University of Harrodsburg. Talk about this campus and kind of what led for you to sign with them over maybe some other choices.
Well, I had wanted to go to school to Western, but just for school. But I didn't necessarily want to stop playing basketball. It's definitely a lot smaller of a campus, but I think what really was getting to me was how hard I was being recruited by Coach Tribble, and that I didn't want to stop playing basketball either. But I was nervous because I didn't think I was going to have a chance to, from having this surgery so late, and it was going to put me back like that. I wasn't going to be able to play the start of the season. And I know a lot of other coaches were wanting me to play right whenever I could, but it was like he really wanted me to be there, and it was giving me another chance not to stop playing basketball, the thing that I love. I didn't want to stop playing, but I think that him recruiting me so hard the way that he was what really got me over.
Has he talked to you about what kind of role you'll have on the team, or what maybe he expects from you coming on to campus?
Well, he's definitely told me he expects me to be a scorer whenever I can play. But I think regardless if he wants me to or not, that I can still be somebody that's there to encourage everybody, even if I'm not playing, just because I've been able to do that all the time, all the years that I've played at Central, and being a team leader.
Well, let's talk about Jakari. So you and her have been teammates for as long as I can remember, since I've been covering you all with basketball. So now she's not going to be around or be there next to you. How's that going to feel with her not being there with
Well, I've played with her without her before, but it will be like the first time that we're like the first time in a while, I guess, that we'll be, because we'll be playing Berea whenever we start playing.
you? Okay.
So she'll actually be an opponent instead of a teammate. But for the most part, I think as long as I believe that I can handle it, that I can definitely handle it without her.
So let's talk about the season coming up, and what do you have an idea of when you'll be going to campus?
I think I'll be moving in around the 14th of August. And then we practice a couple days after that. I think the 17th is when we start practice.
One last question before we let you go. We know that the coronavirus has had a crazy impact on high school seniors. Just touch on how it was not getting to finish your senior year of high school.
Well, I know I talked a lot about wanting to start the next chapter of my life, but I definitely was upset when it got cut short. I guess I was wishing it away too fast, but I didn't expect it to be cut 2 or 3 months short like it was. I was upset mostly that we couldn't have an in-person graduation, but I think they're still trying to get to that for us sometime later in the summer. But the biggest thing that made me upset was just not being able to see my classmates as much anymore, because I haven't seen any of them in forever. And then the drive-through graduation that they gave us, we all had to stay in the car, and that was like my only chance to see everybody. So it's definitely upsetting, but I'm ready to go to college now.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to do this interview. Congratulations on signing with Campbellsville University of Harrodsburg, and look forward to covering you as your college career begins, hopefully in a couple of months, and good luck in getting that shoulder fixed as well.
All right, thank you.
I'm Michelle. And I'm Jennifer. And in the spring of 1992, Bishop Small Engine Repair was born in our mom and dad's barn in Estill County.
Then in the fall of 1992, we made the move to Madison County, where we are today. With the support of our family, customers, and community, we have continued to grow in the outdoor power industry. With a full line of products from Kokudet, Grasshopper, Echo, and Shindawa, we can help you tackle your yard so you can enjoy it with your family. Bishop Small Engine Repair, where our focus is our customer. Stop on in, 119 North Estill Avenue in Richmond. We can't wait to see ya.
Get the money you need now. Apply for a home equity line of credit at Cumberland Valley National Bank today, with no payments for 6 months and low rates. There's never been a better time to tap into your home's equity.
Patrick O'Neill has been serving Central and Eastern Kentucky since 1995. When someone is accused of something they didn't do, or when a good person makes a mistake, they need the best representation they can find. And that's Patrick O'Neill. Whether it's criminal defense, Social Security, disability, personal injury, workers' compensation, or deeds and wills, when you need legal advice, trust the expertise of Patrick O'Neill. He will get you the money you deserve. His office is located in Jackson, but Patrick practices all over Central and Eastern Kentucky. For more information or for a free consultation, call 606-666-2990.
Who makes the best meal in Richmond? Nuevo Vallarta. Friendly service, a place that's good for kids and good for groups. Head to Nuevo Vallarta on Big Hill Avenue in Richmond. Nuevo Vallarta is known for warm hospitality, great prices, great food, and the best margaritas and fajitas in town. Doesn't a huge 32-ounce ice-cold beer sound great? Start with an appetizer, order a la carte, or choose from their huge menu of Mexican favorites for grown-ups and kids. Nuevo Vallarta on Big Hill Avenue in Richmond.
Get the money you need now. Apply for a home equity line of credit at Cumberland Valley National Bank today, with no payments for 6 months and low rates. There's never been a better time to tap into your home's equity.
Welcome back into the sports show, and thanks to Talia Todd for joining us this evening, talking about everything going on with her and, trying to get that arm healed up and get ready to play college basketball. And Jamie, we look at high school sports right now, and we've seen Madison Central and these teams get back to work. Madison Southern with Camp Soar, Tony D over at Berea getting ready for his first head coaching gig over with the Pirates, and Estill County the same thing. And they're all having to deal with this coronavirus. They all had to put a plan in place as to how they were going to keep them and their players safe. And with Madison Central, with everything going on with the Manny Pruitt passing away after drowning in Lake Harrington, continue to remember that family in your thoughts and prayers as they put him to rest last week, led him to rest late last week. But a lot of stuff still going on right now, and locally, Kentucky compared to the other states is killing it right now with the coronavirus. We're seeing, we're still seeing cases each day, but the amount of them is nowhere near as high we're seeing in these other states. So Kentucky doing a good job as far as that goes. But locally, we have had a player test positive. We don't want to, talk about who that was or where that was, but we have had a player test positive for the coronavirus that was, participating in these events that are taking place right now. And what we're seeing is some of these schools having to deal with the fact that, hey, it's still here, and even though you're getting back to work, you've got to make sure your players socially distance, even when they're at their water fountain, and each one has to have their own water bottle. You can't have any balls out right now, I don't think, or each player has to have their own balls. So it's very, very interesting to see how all these coaches are having to deal with an extra added thing on top of having to coach their team and getting them ready.
Yeah, it's I've seen some guidelines from schools recently of have to sit in the car until the doors open to the gym, get your temperature taken on your way in, bring your own water. Coaches wearing masks all the time, which as a coach, I cannot imagine.
Yeah.
Let's just say I enjoy raising my voice to encourage, not yell at players. I can't imagine trying to be loud with directions through a mask and not getting out of breath for that. So coaches are wearing masks. And I think as much work is going into it, as hard as it is right now, it's going to get harder. Like right now, with the player testing positive, you can shut down workouts, you can take a couple steps back and all that stuff. What if that happens in October, in the middle of the season? Are you just going to shut everything down, forfeit 3 or 4 games? Like, what is that going to look like? And what's the breaking point? Is one player just sit out, or if it's 3 or 4 players, is the team shut down? When is it an isolated case from an outbreak? And I think we're going to get into the season and things are going to continue to seem uncertain, even until the very end.
Well, here's the thing. So the KHSA's next update is going to come maybe next week. By the time we do our show next week, we're hoping to have another update from the KHSAA. If there's no football, man, the KHSAA might go bankrupt. And it's not the fact that, they don't have any money, but they make money on these sports. They've got to have a way to bring in some income. And if there's no high school football, which usually helps facilitate some of these other sports the schools have, I mean, I just don't see how some of these schools' sports programs, and I don't want to even think about it, but there's a chance that we might not have any sports until football season next year. Because we need football season this year to get the other sports money for what they're going to do this upcoming year. And even if you don't allow fans in the stands, I mean, that's another big revenue source for the schools that they're not going to have this year. So I don't know how you go about dealing with that or how you prepare for that, because these ADs right now are under the assumption that that the season is how it is. Like our first game's the middle of August or the end of August. That's how it's going to be right now. Things could really change in the next week or so, because we could get a better idea by the next time the KHSAA unveils their next set of guidelines for the next period. And I've heard a lot of the schools right now are not going to start until after Labor Day. So I don't see how you have football games whenever school has not even started yet.
Yeah, that's going to be tough. I could certainly see shortened seasons for football, try to get, if it does happen, get the season finished before it starts getting too cold, because some days they say the heat's bad for the coronavirus. Some days it's not. Today I'm going to assume that it is. So to try to get football season over faster and to prevent travel, I mean, keep it local. Play your district games and play 2 regional games that are within a certain number of miles or whatever. I could see that kind of half-season situation, and then going into the playoffs that'll on an accelerated timeline to end earlier.
Yeah, what I could see is, I agree with you. We could potentially see maybe, okay, you can play your district games, which most schools have 4 teams in the district. So that's 3 games right there. And then potentially saying, okay, what is your biggest non-district game? For Madison Central, it's probably the Southern game. For Estill County, it's the Powell County game. For Berea, it might be, the team out of Tennessee, Jellicoe, Tennessee, that they play every year. So it really just depends on what is your biggest gate game other than the district games. So we could – in Madison Central this year, Jamie, they're going to have 6 home games. So if you take away their 6 home games and only allow them to play district games and maybe one other one, if they play Southern, well, that Southern game goes to Southern this year. They were at Central last year. So that game's at Southern. That's on the road. Their district games, 2 of them would be at home. So you go from having 6 home games potentially to having only 2.
Yeah, and that's not including the fact that if people are allowed in, it's not going to be a full crowd anyway. It's going to be, I would say, a third, a half at most. So the money you're bringing in per game, let's say you were going to have 6 home games, it's not just cutting your total profit you were expecting to 2. It's cutting it like in a third of that. So, yeah, I think teams are going to be losing money. Schools are going to be losing money. I don't know if that burden's going to fall back on the schools, back on the state, or fall to the parents in some ways, which is tough for football. But sports like basketball and baseball and soccer, I would think equipment could be furnished by parents, but not everybody can afford that. So, so much uncertainty.
Yeah, and that's going to be the biggest thing, Jamie. And you know what's scary right now is just that some of these schools that don't have a lot of depth. I mean, like a Berea. I mean, what do you do if you got 3 or 4 really good players, and one of those guys goes down with the coronavirus, then your season could come to an end right there, even with just playing 3 or 4 games. Because for a kid like they're running back over there, or Tanner Hayden. I mean, they got some really good guys over there. Well. Or for Madison Southern, you got Walker Smith, who's going to be a legit superstar this year on the football field and getting college looks. I mean, he's going to have some big names coming after him, I think. So what do you do if the very first game of the season, Walker Smith comes out and he's got the coronavirus? We hope that's not the case, but he catches the coronavirus, has to go isolate for 2 weeks. Well, he misses 3 games. You're only playing 4. So it's like, okay, what do you do there for a kid that's going to have potential to get some really big college looks? Right,
and then to carry that further, if they're really looking to speed up the playoff process, what if fewer teams are going to the playoffs? Yeah. And what if that causes them to miss the playoffs because he tested positive a week before the first game or whatever the case may be? I don't know. You have people this spring that missed the entirety of their senior year of spring sports, and I'm not optimistic that won't happen for some in the fall.
Yeah. Even if we have football, there might be some sports. I mean, I don't know if soccer might be that way. Like, if you have to use football to fund some of these other sports, I mean, soccer, tennis, they might not have seasons because there's no football to help give those programs money. So that could be a big issue we see in the fall as well. But again, I don't know what the answer is, but there's got to be a better way to figure this stuff out. And it's kind of an unknown for everybody. But I've seen, Ohio, Tennessee, Indiana, they have loosened their restrictions on what schools and players can do. Kentucky is still, kind of kept it pretty even as far as what they're allowing schools to do. They're very strict right now, even with the dead period being lifted. They're still being very strict on what they're allowing schools and players and teams to do. So if they open it back up, I mean, I don't see any way for them to not open it up in July and have a season in August. The only way we have a season in August is if they come out and say in this next, guidelines period, whenever that is, hopefully before our show next Monday. But the only way I see us having football in August is if they come out and say, okay, here's what you're allowed to do in July, and they basically open it up for everybody.
Yeah, today's a big day. Today, bars are opening, restaurants are increasing to 50%. If we see a spike after reopening, I think sports is one of the first things that gets shut down.
Yeah.
On the other side, if things continue to stay how they are and we're seeing that athletes are being well taken care of with the measurements taken, then it will move forward quickly. So I think they say it usually takes 2 weeks to see an impact about changes. So I think mid-July, we're going to know kind of what's really happening in Kentucky.
Jane, one thing I wanted to get into, so I know that you know somebody personally that's been tested recently, and they had a swab in the mouth, and it wasn't the nose swab that we've seen everybody have to take. Now, I've not heard of that yet, But and I'm not gonna lie, I don't like anything that has to do with going to the doctor, getting tested, having a needle anywhere close to any kind of that stuff. But I would be much more inclined to have a test if it wasn't up my nose and if it was just a swab of the mouth. So, have you heard anything else about a potential new way of being tested?
Yeah, it was the first I heard about it, and it was like a mouth swab. So they pricked his finger and took blood for the antibody test, and did the mouth swab for the COVID-19 test, and there was no touching of the nose whatsoever. I signed me up for that today.
Yeah.
And I know the governor's encouraging everybody to get tested. I have not yet. It's certainly something on my radar, but yeah, the discomfort legitimately is a deterrent from doing that, I think, for most people.
Yeah, same. I've not been tested yet either. We have a little trip planned in a couple of weeks, so we'll probably be tested after we come back from that trip. But as of right now, it's just like I don't like any kind of pain that I've not inflicted upon myself. I don't want to deal with it, so I've kind of held off on being tested. But we've got a lot of stuff that's going on. We've got 2 kids that we're still trying to keep bottled up, and whenever we come back from our trip, we want to make sure everybody continues to stay on that path of being healthy, staying safe, and making sure we take care of ourselves. But it's a scary time right now, and we want to try to be as normal as possible, and we want our kids to be able to do and see things and do things that we want to do with them. But again, if you get out there and you see somebody not wearing – and here's the thing about wearing a mask. I've gone into several, restaurants or stores, shopping centers, whatever, and I've worn my mask sometimes. Sometimes I haven't. It just depends on kind of how quick of a trip I'm going in, basically. If I'm going in to grab one thing, maybe I don't wear the mask. But there has been some times where I feel like I'm being judged. Whether I wear the mask, I'm being judged, or even if I don't wear the mask, I'm being judged. I feel like no matter what you do right now, you're being looked at a different way. If I go into Kroger and I wear my mask and I see the people that aren't wearing theirs looking at me like, what's he so scared of? It's just a coronavirus. And vice versa, if I don't wear my mask, the people that are wearing theirs are like, why is he not wearing a mask? So it's like there's no win-win with this situation right now as far as wearing a mask or not wearing one.
It really is divisive for some reason. I'm not sure why. But people are adamant one way or the other for sure. I kind of fall on the why does it hurt me to wear a mask? That's where I land. So most of the time I do, but sometimes I forget it at home. Sometimes I'll forget it in the car or whatever. So people are and I wonder how much of that is me. How much is that just me thinking and feeling judged, and how much of it is legitimate? Because I think about that when I look at other people too. Like I don't want them to think like I'm being judgy or feel like I'm being judgy. So I don't know how much of that's them, how much of that's me.
Well, but we are talking about the local stuff going on right now. We do want to talk about some fundraisers that are going on right now for Madison Central. Every single year they have the big fireworks tent set up. It's over there by where Applebee's used to be at, where we got like Dunham's and Hobby Lobby and stuff in Richmond. So Madison Central has their fireworks tent set up. If you're looking for some fireworks this week, looking to get ready for the 4th of July extravaganza coming up this weekend, they are still having the big event up at Lake Reba, and I know Berea's having a fireworks show as well. But if you want to have your own fireworks extravaganza, get on over to Madison Central's firework tent over there where Applebee's used to be at. Support the Madison Central basketball team, excuse me. That's their biggest fundraiser they do every year. And, every year I go over there and talk to Feldhouse, and they usually make enough money from that one fundraiser to fund the entire basketball season. So that's a big thing right now going on with them. And also the Madison Central golf team. It is the annual Madison Central Golf Scramble coming up on Saturday, July the 11th, a 9 a.m. shotgun. It'll be 14 teams available. Registration starts at 8 a.m. that day. You can contact Jenna Conkleton, the wife of the coach, Kyle Conkleton, to get set up for that. It is $300 per team. There will be a first, second, and third place payout. Lunch will be provided. And this will all take place at the Madison Country Club over there behind the school. So that's coming up on July 11th, a big fundraiser for the Madison Central golf team, Jamie. And listen, if you're a coach and you see our show and you've got a fundraiser, I know it's kind of a hard time to be fundraising right now, but if you have something coming up and you want us to help us get that out there for you, feel free to reach out to us, and we'll get that covered and get that out there to the folks so they can help support your local team.
Yeah, it's certainly a tough time. We're all in here to help each other, especially if we're looking at not being able to have gate money. I know those teams need money, so yeah, go out and support those local athletic programs.
All right, Jimmy, we will take our third commercial break and come back to finish up the show. When we come back, I know you and the kids have been out playing some baseball and some travel tournaments. We've had two local teams do very well over the weekend. We'll talk about that when we come back. We are live on the stations of Wallingford Broadcasting. A special thank you to our great sponsors, Cumberland Valley National Bank, the law office of Patrick O'Neill, and so much more. All that and more coming your way in just a moment on the Sports Show, live on the stations of Wallingford Broadcasting and WBONTV.com.
I'm Michelle. And I'm Jennifer. And in the spring of 1992, Bishop Small Engine Repair was born in our mom and dad's barn in Estill County.
Then in the fall of 1992, we made the move to Madison County, where we are today. With the support of our family, customers, and community, we have continued to grow in the outdoor power industry. With a full line of products from Cupcadet, Grasshopper, Echo, and Shindawa, we can help you tackle your yard so you can enjoy it with your family. Bishop's Small Engine Repair, where our focus is our customer. Stop on in, 119 North Estill Avenue in Richmond. We can't wait to see ya.
Get the money you need now. Apply for a home equity line of credit at Cumberland Valley National Bank today, with no payments for 6 months and low rates. There's never been a better time to tap into your home's equity.
Patrick O'Neill has been serving Central and Eastern Kentucky since 1995. When someone is accused of something they didn't do, or when a good person makes a mistake, they need the best representation they can find. And that's Patrick O'Neill. Whether it's criminal defense, Social Security, disability, personal injury, workers' compensation, or deeds and wills, when you need legal advice, trust the expertise of Patrick O'Neill. He will get you the money you deserve. His office is located in Jackson, but Patrick practices all over Central and Eastern Kentucky. For more information or for a free consultation, call 606-666-2990.
Who makes the best meal in Richmond? Nuevo Vallarta. Friendly service, a place that's good for kids and good for groups. Head to Nuevo Vallarta on Big Hill Avenue in Richmond. Nuevo Vallarta is known for warm hospitality, great prices, great food, and the best margaritas and fajitas in town. Doesn't a huge 32-ounce ice-cold beer sound great? Start with an appetizer, order a la carte, or choose from their huge menu of Mexican favorites for grown-ups and kids. Nuevo Vallarta on Big Hill Avenue in Richmond.
Get the money you need now. Apply for a home equity line of credit at Cumberland Valley National Bank today, with no payments for 6 months and low rates. There's never been a better time to tap into your home's equity.
Well, Jamie, every year, you get these local little league teams or these teams that get together, and we have seen the restrictions uplifted for traveling out of state. And for some of these travel teams or these really good little league or softball teams, it allows them to go out and play in some of these tournaments. Well, we've had some local ones do very, very good in some of these tournaments. The KY Storm 8U went 5-0 this weekend in the Bourbon Barrel Classic in Southern Indiana. It wasn't easy, being down 13-8 in the last inning of the semifinal game. The Storm put up 5 runs to tie it up and battled through 2 extra innings to win 19-18 on a walk-off triple in the 8th inning. Then in the championship game, the Storm came back from 6-0 deficit to win the championship 20-13. And this is a USSA-sponsored tournament, and our usually larger teams are mostly from Kentucky, Indiana, and Illinois. The 8U Storm is coached by head coach Lloyd Ward, assistant coaches Richard Tate, Shelley Bell, Bill Berryman, and Blake Robinson. And that is pretty impressive. That's a lot of runs being scored too, Jamie. So you fall behind by 5 runs in the last inning, find a way to tie it up, and then win it in extra innings. And then you come from behind in the championship 6-0 to come back and win. That's 2 big comebacks to pull out a big championship right there for the KY Storm 8U.
That really makes me miss coach pitch baseball, because at 8U, the coaches pitch. So they're serving up meatballs and the kids are teeing off, and there's action on every pitch. And then you get into when the kids start pitching and they're walking each other, and it's really boring. No, that's a good team. That's a good organization. They have teams from at least 8 up until 11 that I know of. The 11U team was up in a similar area this weekend. Yeah, that's exciting baseball, and Coach Pitch is so much fun, and that's a good team.
Now, you know some of these players too. You've seen them, from doing coaching yourself, some little league games. You've seen some of these players before.
Yeah, I know a lot of the parents, and a lot of times you'll go to one of these tournaments, and the team I coach is 11U, but the next field over will be 7-year-olds, and the one beside you will be 13-year-olds. So you go around, you watch these teams play as much as you can, especially the local ones and the people you know. The last tournament we went to last weekend, I think there were 5 teams from Madison County up there.
Well, Randy Hall also coaches a local team as well. He coaches the Jinx 06 team, and that softball team is primarily a first-year 14U team comprised of several girls from Madison and Estill counties. Madison County, Sydney Hall, Brooke and Brittany Campbell, which their dad, Dennis Campbell, and their mom, Deborah. Dennis obviously was one of the local people here that had the coronavirus first in Madison County. We've talked to him several times, and I think he's the basketball coach over at Clark Moore or one of the middle schools here in town. But you got Molly Neely, Kelsey Nicholson, and Olivia Belondo out of Madison County. You also have Kyla Covey out of Estill County, and the remaining players on the team are from the Hazard area. You got Mallory Combs, Kylie Gayhart, Ashlyn Dixon, and Taylor Hoskins. And they also have a player from my hometown, Breathitt County, Christina Pickle Butler, and they played their first tournament of the year last weekend in West Union, Ohio, came in runner-up out of 7 teams. And this past weekend, they traveled to Pigeon Forge to participate in the Wounded Veterans Tourney, which is a USA Softball Tennessee B-State Championship. The 14U division had 16 teams that were from Kentucky, Tennessee, Ohio, North Carolina, and Virginia, and they come out and runner-up in this tournament as well. They played on Saturday afternoon, started our bracket and played games. They played a team from Tennessee and won 13-2. Then they played a team from North Carolina, and because of the time limit, the game was tied at 3-3 at the end of that one. They would tie the game, or they would score 2 runs each of the first 2 innings in their next game against a Knoxville base Knox Rain team. And unfortunately, in the bottom of the second inning, a player from the base Knox region hit a 3-run home run to claim the lead. They would tie the game in the top of the 4th inning. Brooke Campbell started off the inning with a double. Sydney Hall then sacrificed Brooke over to third. The next batter, Butler, would reach base on an error, and this would allow Brooke to score the tying run. The 5th inning would prove to be the last inning as they reached the 75-minute time limit. First batter popped out to the catcher, Mallory Combs. The next batter got a base hit. They then committed an error that allowed another base runner, and the runners then moved up to second and third on the pass ball. And as the runner was on her way back to first, Kyla Covey tagged the runner, which resulted in an inning-ending double play. Unfortunately, the runner tagged up from third and made it home to score the winning run a split second before the tag was applied. And this resulted in us losing 4-3 in the championship game. The players received nice bracelets for being a finalist in the tournament, and that was very cool that the the Jinx 06 team, in their second tournament together, would finish runner-up in both the tournaments last weekend in Ohio and this week in Tennessee.
Yeah, and softball they go, you said that was a first-year 14U team. So that means most of their players are 13 playing against 14-year-olds. Softball only does even number of years. So a first-team 14-year-old team means everybody on the team's 13, or most everybody on the team is 13. So that's really impressive for a first-year softball team to go and compete in tournaments like that. Michael, there's so much talent in this area. I think there are 5, maybe 6 teams. I coach an 11U team in the area. I think there are 5 teams based out of Madison County. So there's enough talent to fill 5 travel baseball teams of that age group. Most of them go and compete for championships in different areas every weekend, as long as they're not. And a lot of times we end up meeting together in championship games. Softball similar, and it goes down the age groups. There's some ages are better than others. There's some players in Madison County between 8 and 13 that I think are among the best in the state. Some tops in the country. So there's a lot of talent around here. As soon as we are able to have tournaments close enough, I encourage you to go out and watch some of that, which I think tournaments are going to be taking place in Kentucky this weekend for the first time this summer.
Yeah, and Lake Reba is normally a host for a lot of those, so hopefully we can get some back up here relatively close to us as well. Coach Hall, the coach of this Jinx 06 team, when I got some information from him, I did not know this. He actually went to Estill County. He graduated a year ahead of Steve Honchel and Brian Kaiser, and Brian Kaiser was maybe the greatest player in Estill County history. And he also had the pleasure to play for Danny Wood, who is, the legendary Hall of Fame baseball coach over there in Estill County. He does our Estill County ball games. So Randy Hall actually played for him. And now he's taken from what he learned from Danny Wood and obviously doing a very good job of coaching himself with this Jinx 06 team. So I appreciate him giving me that information. And we'll try to keep up with these two teams, the Kentucky Storm 8U and the Jinx 06 14U teams, as they continue to play in the upcoming weekends. And that's one thing that we're just trying to find some local content to fill our show. If you have a team that has played in some of these tournaments, you've got some pictures you want us to show, feel free to reach out to us, Jamie or I, and we would love to have your team on the show, talk about their games, how they did in the tournaments, and give them some love as well over the next few weeks.
Yeah, there's so much, like I said, so much talent around here, and if we can highlight that, we would love to. I know most teams are playing almost every weekend because we missed the first 2 months of the travel season. So, and play is going to pick up here locally starting this weekend. And usually there are tournaments, Michael, in Harrodsburg, Danville, Lawrenceburg, Lexington, Georgetown, London, Somerset, every weekend. There's so much baseball and softball being played. So, yeah, get out and watch, support. If you're playing, let us know.
Well, baseball is your favorite sport, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So, I mean, it's a good time for you. Hopefully we can get back out there. And are you coaching any right now? I know you said you had a game a couple of weeks ago. Your son did. Were you the coach of that, or are you just a parent sitting there yelling at the referee from the stand?
I am very thankful to be an assistant coach right now with our travel team. So that way I get to work with the kids and help them practice. And I coach third base and give the signs, but I don't make all the big decisions. I don't handle the money. I don't handle parents. So it's the perfect sweet spot for me. But yeah, we played last weekend. We didn't have enough players in town. I think we're planning on playing the 11th when play can resume in Kentucky.
Well, Jamie, it's time to head off the air once again. Well, listen, we appreciate all of our great sponsors. We could not do this show without Cumberland Valley National Bank, Bishop's Small Engine Repair, the law office of Patrick O'Neill, and Nuevo Vallarta as well, one of our great sponsors of the sports show tonight. We appreciate you. And listen, if you want some Mexican food, it's getting me hungry just thinking about it. Nuevo is the place to go right there on Big Hill Avenue in Richmond. The law office of Patrick O'Neill, he's over there in Breathitt County, but he serves all over central and eastern Kentucky right now, doing things pretty much virtually. But give Patrick a call at 606-666-2990. You can also reach out to the folks over at Bishop's, still doing that curbside pickup on North Estill Avenue in Richmond, and the great folks over at Cumberland Valley National Bank as well. Jamie, it's been a fun show. We appreciate you taking the time out of your day to help us as well. And I've got a fan joining me here in the room that we're recording the show in today. So, hey, Reagan, can you be quiet for just a minute? Well, listen, Jamie, next Monday, hopefully it'll be a little bit smoother. And we're hoping that by the time the show rolls back around, that we will have some new guidelines from the KHSAA about maybe a clearer picture for what the football season will look like.
Yeah, hopefully we'll at least have a direction to talk about instead of just wildly speculating. We can narrow our speculation a little bit.
That'll do it for us, folks. Thanks for hanging out with us on this Monday edition. We will see you next time on the Sports Show, live on the stations of Wallingford Broadcasting and WBONTV.com.